Review a Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wade Take the Mic.
Welcome to Review a Raw. It's John Pollock along with the birthday boy, Wei Ting.
What?
Who is...
What do you mean? Oh. What?
Were you not aware of this?
Wow. Didn't even notice.
This is the official Wei Ting birthday set.
Wow.
What an unbelievable job here.
You did this for me?
Well, it was a group effort.
Wow,
We had to go to many lengths, Wei.
That's
to,
amazing.
We thought as well, being that we always get on you about your hat selections, we have the official Wei Ting crown.
Oh my God. You want me to wear this?
Well, come on. It goes well with your red motif.
Well, I guess if I'm crowned,
Look at that way.
I must wear this. Let me adjust this. Did you glue this thing? Where did you get this?
I went
Really
to an
crown.
antique castle shop that had many, many different variations of crowns.
Oh,
I could have got a cape and a scepter, but I declined. I asked for the cheapest crown possible.
Well, I love it. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to wear this. People just scrolling by will have no idea what they're watching.
Yes.
I look like Jughead. Jughead.
Akira Taue has never been so featured and with such royalty upon him.
Right.
I mean, this is a big jump up from you literally right now are the king and the fish.
King and the fish. Get it. I get it.
We've also got, because you and I both turned 32 combined,
Yeah?
we are 64.
Ah, nice. Very subtle. I like it. Well, happy birthday to you as well, John.
My birthday's over now. It's all about you.
My birthday's over now, too. It's Tuesday.
I guess technically it is, so we can
Yeah.
take all this down, actually, before we get
okay,
into our
okay.
review.
We'll never get to the review.
You're
then.
officially done. Well, we are going to chat about Raw from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Monday night. A big Raw in terms of, now that Roadblock is out of the way, it is full-on build towards WrestleMania, a number of key names appearing and returning to Raw on Monday night from Pittsburgh, and we're going to get into all of it. But if you want to go back and listen to the podcast version of Review of Raw, you can hear our thoughts on Roadblock, because Wei did attend it live, and we were chatting about it on the podcast version. But Raw kicked off with the New Day coming out to start the show. Imagine this, Wei. They started Raw with a match. I can't even recall the last time this occurred.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't all that long ago, but it felt like forever.
This was, certainly an unusual start to Raw. No opening music, just a completely cold open with the New Day coming out ready for a match.
The New Day came out, and they got into the ring stating that they have been roasting the League of Nations on Twitter. They plugged their bootios, which they are now selling their T-shirts inside of a cereal box.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, when they first showed these things at Roadblock, I was like, I hope they're selling these boxes alone. The thought of eating any WWE branded food, aside from ice cream, okay?
I wouldn't even go that far across the line.
The thought of eating a WWE produced cereal I just wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't put anything like that in my mouth. But the fact that you can get a box with a free T-shirt, or a T-shirt
Well,
with
it's
a free
not
box,
a free
whatever.
It's an expensive box with a free T-shirt.
T-shirt with a free box. I think they're both things that I'd be willing to happily own from the WWE. So I think it's brilliant.
What about a Big E Butts exercise DVD?
I don't know. Should it be a goal of mine to get a butt like Big E's?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is it a goal of yours? Will you do the exercise disc?
We would have to watch this. We still have to watch that Stephanie McMahon exercise DVD. We got to get around to that.
I want a figure like hers, yeah.
So the show started off with Big E and Xavier Woods. No Kofi Kingston, who it was notable that his left shoulder was all taped up. And typically it's always Woods who's the third man. He did get physical, though. He did get involved, but he was not part of the match.
Right. Do you think he was injured, or is this just a precautionary thing, or did they just want to flip the guys around?
I would imagine it was probably, nothing too serious if he was...
he did get physical.
Yeah, he got involved, so I don't think it's anything life or death, but nonetheless. Taking on Rusev and Alberto Del Rio for the tag titles, and Woods hit this somersault into a clothesline on Del Rio and then got caught with an enziguri, and they got the heat on Woods, went through a commercial break. Del Rio was attacking the arm, and eventually Woods landed a knee to Del Rio and then tagged in Big E, who came in and hit a series of belly-to-belly suplexes to Rusev. Rusev landed a spinning heel kick, and then E ran into the knees of Del Rio off the apron, and there was a jumping stomp by Del Rio. Rusev then super kicked Woods for a 2 count, went for the accolade when Kofi started to distract him. Kofi then leaped off the apron, taking down Sheamus on the floor. Rusev grabbed him, and Woods got a schoolboy with the trunks on Rusev to pin him. But all of the focus was for the post-match, where the League of Nations then laid out all 3 members of the New Day. Rusev took the shirt of the New Day, threw it in the air, and punted it in midair, which you must go back and watch this in slow motion of Rusev kicking this weightless T-shirt with all the force in the world, like he was trying to kick a man's head off. Then they hit the bullhammer to Kofi, a brogue kick to Big E, double foot stomp to Woods, and then the accolade.
I don't know if you noticed on the double foot stomp, they finally had
The guys hold him up.
2 guys hold up the person in the Tree of Woe to justify the person crunching their abs up like that. Finally, and I'm glad
They listened to you.
I'm glad somebody listened because it just seemed incredible.
They hit a new low with Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, like on the barricade, crunched over for no reason. When you have a bunch of guys just lying around not doing anything. So I'm glad they finally made use of some of those guys.
It looks bad, and you have the built-in ability in a gang to have people holding them up for you. But in a match, it still looks awful.
Sure. But I think the New Day have made a pretty good transition to wrestling babyface, and we saw it at Roadblock. And in particular with Kofi, who I think as a high flyer has a babyface style of wrestling already. But I think here Woods did pretty decent playing the underdog. And I love, though, that they keep a lot of their heel mannerisms. I mean, they won with the grabbing the tights today. And it's the same Eddie Guerrero thing of cheating to win. But, people love that they're cheating to win. So they get cheered anyway.
Each week on Review of Raw, pay attention for the secret question. You can tweet the answer at Law Radio every week for your chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees. Dean Ambrose came out to a very strong response in Pittsburgh, and they showed the replay of the Roadblock finish, complete with like a graphic showing the line of Ambrose's foot, which I feel they very well, there was definitely some manipulation.
They definitely took liberties with the width of this line, with the placement of this line in relation to where the ropes actually are to justify the foot on the ropes. But, it was...
All power to him.
Close enough. I did love the idea of that false finish, though, in the match against Ambrose and Triple H. I thought it served to protect Ambrose, and it made him look like he, very clearly almost won.
I'm not disagreeing with what they did at Roadblock, because I think you did have to get everyone's programs going for WrestleMania, so it doesn't lend itself to this. But I thought the idea of doing something disputed, and you get one more match out of Hunter, which you announce
against Ambrose?
Against Ambrose. They have a match. They announce it for next week on Raw. And you have Ambrose going for the title, and that's Reigns' return. He comes back in the city where he won the title back in December. Yeah. And he ends up inadvertently taking out Ambrose, because they make it clear if Ambrose wins the title, then Brock gets the match. So you have the story that was it an accident, or did he save his title match?
Yeah. That's good, but how do you ensure that Reigns doesn't get booed even more at WrestleMania?
I don't think they're necessarily going to be able to change that one way or another. But the idea is, though, that if you really wanted to flip this guy, you have that option coming out of WrestleMania. And in the city of brotherly love, no less, next week. I mean, a lot of options there. But I don't mind this way, because realistically, Ambrose and Lesnar, you don't want to be wasting another week in a different direction. So I really didn't have an issue with it. Anyway, Ambrose is out, and after they showed the finish, he says that he came up short, he lives and dies by his sword, and then he's talking about how Triple H must be feeling today when they get interrupted by Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. Heyman calls their fight the main event of WrestleMania because of Lesnar's participation in whatever match he is being the main event. And he pleads with Ambrose to stop provoking Lesnar or he's not going to make it to WrestleMania. And Ambrose is trying to prompt him. Heyman runs down all of Lesnar's credentials and assumes that this is the end, but Lesnar does not leave with Heyman. Instead, he approaches the ring, and Ambrose reveals under his jacket he's got a crowbar. He was hiding Devon Storm in his jacket and pulled it out, and Lesnar circles around the ring, teases entering, and Ambrose goes to run at him with the crowbar, and Lesnar hops back down to the floor, and the segment ended.
The whole thing feels a little bit jarring because Brock and Ambrose have both had, pretty big feuds, at least more so Ambrose, over the past week and a half. So it feels like we're just supposed to pick right back up from 2 weeks ago like nothing had happened, between Brock and Ambrose.
We deviated off the path. It wasn't so much a roadblock. We had to go find a service station, and now we're back on the highway.
Detour, yeah.
That was it. For all that was made about when Lesnar's contract came up last year, and they had to get more dates on this guy. Do you need more dates on this guy? I can't say that.
Are you asking if it was beneficial?
Yes.
To have him. They were able to promote a couple network of specials.
Like tonight's involvement of Brock Lesnar,
yeah.
Sure, it was great to have. It was by no means a necessity for this guy.
Yeah. Though having him around is obviously better than not having him. You can at least tease something.
You could argue the other way as well.
Well, maybe.
I think he's around just enough now that he has lost some of that uniqueness.
He doesn't wrestle all the time.
Well, he never wrestles on television.
Yeah.
When he wrestles, of course, that's something different.
It's still a spectacle.
But a Brock Lesnar appearance, it means less than it did, I would say, even a year ago.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you see him much more frequent. So that ended the segment, and that was the last we saw of Brock Lesnar all night. RYBACK took on Sin Cara, who came out all in black. I feel he should just go full in and call himself Lucha Dragon number 2 because that would complete his move into total, just a generic look. Everything. This looked like a mask guy from the early 90s that would be on Superstars. There is nothing. At least he had the colorful outfit.
This is, people go for all black looks from time to time.
This is not a character shift, though. This is just, he's now in black.
Yeah, they've got a lot of outfits. This is just his outfit today. But he's clearly the Marty Jannetty of the Lucha Dragons. I wouldn't
put Marty Jannetty at that level.
Whoa, really?
Come on. Sin Cara is just, he was here to be the opponent of RYBACK. Okay. Kalisto still did his big entrance, flipping over the top rope and lost his title upon landing, and then he grabbed it like it was going to fall down the sewer or something. RYBACK comes out, misses him with a splash. Actually, RYBACK coming out right after Lesnar reminded me that this was the anniversary of Goldberg and Lesnar from WrestleMania.
Cool.
Yes.
Classic match.
A classic match, which featured the end of both men in the company, and that was it for both.
Yep.
Hopefully a different reaction this year.
Yeah.
Maybe another match will get that reaction.
Good.
RYBACK missed with a splash, tossed Sin Cara. The crowd started to chant, "We want Angle." And then...
Whoa, is that what they were chanting?
Yes.
Why?
Well, they were in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Maybe we'll get Angle.
They should watch TNA. He's on every week.
Not anymore. He's done. Farewell. You can watch You Are Fight this week.
Yeah, that's what they should be watching.
That's a harder chant. RYBACK goes to the floor, and Sin Cara hits a suicide dive. RYBACK catches him on his shoulders back in the ring, hits a shell shock, then a second one, and pins Sin Cara in 4:13. And RYBACK tells Kalisto, that's what happened. That's what happens when a good guy beats a good small guy. And
a good big guy beats
a good big guy beats a good small guy. Size matters, and he challenges him for a title match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I get they need to find a big opponent to go up against the small guy in Kalisto. But I think RYBACK has just been so cold over the past year for fans, too cold for fans to suddenly care about right now, in what should be your playoff season. I feel like somebody like a Rusev might have been, or even like a Kevin Owens would have served better in this role. I just think RYBACK hasn't been prominent enough, and it's a little too late to get him hot enough for this feud, I think.
Log on to FightNetwork.com daily for podcasts from Live Audio Wrestling covering the entire industry on a daily basis. Stephanie comes out to start the second hour and welcomes everyone to Monday Night Raw, and then she brought attention that everyone booed this. It said, you're supposed to cheer this, not boo Monday Night Raw, and got very annoyed by this. She brings out Triple H, and Triple H talks about Dean Ambrose being the big hope, and then he failed, and then compared Dean to all of the people who rely on hope. And he starts to run down all of the people as losers as soon as they finish high school. It's a downward slope after high school because they start drinking with their loser friends, complaining about their bosses. They hate their job, and all they can rely on is winning the lottery. And even that's not enough. He says they then end up having to come home to their apartment, not a house, because they lost their house in the divorce, and end up drooling on themselves, hoping for death. And then he brings up Roman Reigns as the new hope, and this got many boos from the Pittsburgh droolers. And he states that Reigns too is going to fail. And out comes Dolph Ziggler, to which Stephanie says, speaking of failures, Ziggler walks into the ring and says his role has been busting his ass for all of these fans, and Stephanie just laughs and calls it pandering and very Cena-esque. Ziggler then says that he will never quit and that Ambrose and him were not failures, but they were screwed by the system, which was created by the Authority. And Hunter says the people like Ziggler, so firing him is not the right business call, and says maybe Ziggler just needs the right people giving him advice, in reference to the Authority. Ziggler says he would never side with them, calls Stephanie idiotic, and that prompts Stephanie to slap Ziggler, and they end up making a match with Ziggler for later in the night. Stephanie says, you're going to have a match, and if you win, you get any match you would like at WrestleMania, with the exception of the WWE title match, because that's Hunter's, and they've got to protect Roman Reigns now. Now they have Roman's title shot protected. Mm-hmm. And she announces it will be Ziggler against Triple H later tonight.
Yeah. I thought this was a great segment. I thought all three performers here really had great moments. I thought Hunter delivered his promo excellently.
I thought Hunter was great.
Yeah, with some fantastic visuals, and I thought he did everything very clearly. It wasn't the usual. I've heard many Triple H promos that I think just have gone too long. This was a long one for sure, but I found him very captivating. I was following everything that he was saying.
He never got silly either. This promo very much could have lent itself to just getting goofy and off track, and he never let it go that way.
And Dolph coming out, I mean, he came out like somebody who's been hungry for a chance to perform in a prominent role like this, and I thought he definitely made the most of it. He delivered his lines very well and showed great confidence. So, I mean, I don't think this will really amount to anything for him, unfortunately, but I thought he got some good screen time here. Hopefully, somebody somewhere decides to give him another look because he's very talented.
Yeah, I find with Ziggler, and you know, you see it when he does some of these promos on the website, and he was given a chance here to do it. You watch him, and you can feel he's trying to cut a great promo. And to me, it's just there's a difference between people that are just natural because they obviously cut a lot more promos. This guy never gets any promo time on television. But yeah, I thought overall, I mean, he came across very good in this particular segment. And it was some focus on the guy, but I feel that it's just everyone has been around the block so many times on this guy that getting the crowd to get invested in Ziggler as your sympathetic hero is a tough challenge at this point where we are a decade plus into this guy.
It's tough, but I mean that's kind of become this guy's story at this point. It's the Daniel Bryan thing where he's been overlooked so many times.
Except there's no faith in this guy, I don't feel.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like there's still. I think he's good enough that, you know, but it maybe not. Maybe it's been too many times.
Coming up this Wednesday on Review Away, we're going to start our look at WrestleMania 23 from 2007. Up first, we'll review the go-home episode of Raw heading into that year's WrestleMania, as Wei Ting and I will take a look at the build-up for John Cena versus Shawn Michaels, the hair versus hair match involving Donald Trump and Vince McMahon, plus Batista against The Undertaker. It's the go-home episode of Raw being reviewed on Review Away Wednesday at liveaudiowrestling.com. Kevin Owens was on commentary for the next match involving Sami Zayn and The Miz. Zayn hit a moonsault off the barricade to The Miz on the floor, and then Miz is working on Zayn's back after they go through the commercial. Saxton reminds Kevin Owens of the Royal Rumble elimination, and Owens asks if he wants to be eliminated from this commentary table because he's getting very close. Miz is then clotheslined to the floor, and Zayn follows with a big somersault dive over the top to Miz on the floor, and Owens then gets up, but Miz is behind and attacks Owens. Owens then distracts The Miz, leading to Zayn hitting the haluva kick for the win. So Owens inadvertently helps Sami Zayn get the win, and we'll talk about this later because that match at WrestleMania may have some curveballs thrown at it. But certainly you can lock in these three, and as we've mentioned, it seems that this is probably the match where Ziggler ends up in, and up until tonight, we were getting the idea that Neville was as well. That could change.
It could. But a lot of focus right now, obviously, using Zayn and Owens as sort of the main feud in that match. And I think, Zayn has a pretty daunting task of trying to get over with this main roster audience in basically 4 weeks' time. I think that's a little unusual. Usually, guys might have a whole year to get exposed in front of a WWE audience, but this guy basically has about 4 weeks. And he certainly is talented enough, and he has a flashy enough style to be able to get over that quickly. And he's also working with Kevin Owens, who, is his best friend and he has great chemistry with. So I think it'll work, but it's certainly not a sure thing. I mean, I think on Saturday, he didn't necessarily get a very memorable reception,
No, I thought that was the least that crowd was into of any of the matches on Saturday.
And I kind of chalked that up to them not really doing a great job of explaining who he is yet. I think tonight, for instance, he needed some promo time. I thought his promo on SmackDown was really good. Didn't they air a video package on SmackDown as well?
Of Zayn?
Yeah. Didn't they do that?
I think they just showed the recap of Monday.
But anyway, they need some type of video package kind of explaining this rivalry he has with Kevin Owens. I think they're just basically playing catch up with this Sami Zayn character and having to introduce him to a brand new audience. I think they often assume that, just because a guy's been exposed on NXT, they would assume that the main roster audience knows him as well. And that's simply not the case. I mean, you've seen, like with the Divas, with Emma, for instance, they translated this thing directly without any explanation, and it didn't matter. It made no difference. With Tyler Breeze, with even like a Sasha Banks, I think everybody needs to be reintroduced. And, Sami Zayn, I think he'll get over, but I just think it's not necessarily a sure thing.
I think there's a lot of things working against it at this particular time. I mean, he's being brought up, and yes, he's got the story with Owens, but this is going to be spread many different ways. I mean, tonight, the focus was Owens-Miz as opposed to Owens and Zayn. It almost felt like
They're trying to book the whole three of them.
That's it. It's like I could see them, if they really wanted Owens and Zayn, I could understand the call-up now. The fact that he's just being brought up to have a great match at WrestleMania that is going to get all your workers into one match, I don't know if now is the best time. I mean, for him personally, great. You get to work a WrestleMania, but if you're looking for maximum impact, I think he would have benefited so much from coming after Mania, getting a dedicated program with Owens. And they haven't even brought up the fact that what happened to this guy when he faced Cena, and here he comes out, he finally makes it to Raw, he blows his shoulder out and has to go through this whole rehab process. They told that story on NXT, but you wouldn't know that if you're just watching Raw and SmackDown. This whole comeback story involving him. So there's a lot there, but he's coming at one of the most difficult times to get that sort of focus because it's divided on all the other priorities going into WrestleMania. So, I mean, that's one element to all of this. And a week later, I mean, he just felt like part of the show and not a massive thing coming out of Monday last week. Renee was backstage with the League of Nations, who made the challenge to the New Day for WrestleMania. Sheamus says if they accept, it will not be a comedy, it will be a tragedy. And I would consider both appropriate for that title run that he saw at the Survivor Series last year. But nonetheless, likely a 3-on-4 match here. Will this be The Rock's spot at WrestleMania, or at least one of his involvements?
The Rock?
Yeah.
Because of the New Day little bit that he did?
And the stuff with Rusev.
Oh, see, I don't even remember all that. So I don't know how much that they'll even call back to it. I mean, I think it'd be a fun little segment for The Rock. Personally, I feel like it'd be a bit of a waste.
If you're looking for 4 guys that are just can just sell and just be there as bodies for him to...
What would The Rock? What would you have The Rock do for this match?
I mean, he's not going to be wrestling the match. I'm saying something where, whether it's the post-match, something like that, where he comes out and you have the big celebration with the New Day, and he endorses the group who are baby faces coming out of WrestleMania.
Possibly.
The Law has launched its own YouTube channel, which you can subscribe to now. Simply go and search for The Law Live Audio Wrestling on YouTube, and you can get all of our videos, including classic editions of Review Away, brand new Review of Raw episodes, and the return of Ask Away, where Wei Ting and I answer your questions. Go search for The Law Live Audio Wrestling, subscribe today, and catch all of Live Audio Wrestling's videos. Brie Bella and Alicia Fox took on Tamina and Naomi, with Lana coming out as the match began and sat on the announce desk, which has to be extremely distracting.
Imagine if that thing collapsed.
Oh, that'd be really tough.
She sat on top of it. That'd be embarrassing.
Naomi landed an enziguri, and then they attacked Alicia in their corner. Brie tagged in, hit the yes kicks to Tamina, as one of the announcers said that I'm sure she wishes that Bryan retired those kicks as well. And then hit a running knee to Tamina, the X Factor out of the corner. Naomi made the save.
She actually calls it the Bella Buster.
The X Factor. The Bella Buster.
Yeah, the Bella Buster.
Great. At least you are like landing on your belly. There's at least a play on words there as well.
Okay. The victim is landing on the belly.
Yes.
Okay.
Lana then gets up and distracts Brie, leading to a double team power slam by Tamina and Naomi, and Tamina pins Brie at 240, and then they hit a double super kick to Alicia Fox on the floor, leaving her laying. More to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that Tamina and Naomi had this double team finisher, this power slam neckbreaker combo.
Well, I don't think many had seen it until now.
Well, exactly, but it does look pretty cool. It's almost like almost like an inverted 3D, and you could tell they practiced it a lot, but they probably never get to do it.
No, not often that they get to win a tag match.
The crowd is really dead for this one as well, and it just feels like during WrestleMania season, when you have all these other big characters and big angles on the show, this just feels very insignificant.
JoJo, she's backstage with Paige, who was on the side of a milk carton, I think, for the last month. Says everyone is trying to make an impact at WrestleMania season, and Lana walks in. She says that Paige used to be a strong European woman, but cannot keep a man, and it's because she hangs out with weak Americans on Total Divas.
It's referencing her breakup with her boyfriend Kevin.
Oh, they broke up on the show.
Yeah, on Total Divas, which you can hear in my review at the end of the audio portion.
Yes, keep it tuned on the podcast portion. Yes. Paige says that Lana bounces from man to man and has never had a match, much less a title. And then Naomi and Tamina are eavesdropping and walk in, and they warn Paige not to make threats. So this could be our much promised Lana debut.
I had concerns that Lana was going to wrestle in a singles match against Brie Bella.
Oh, so I never worried about that one.
At the very least, they're going to hide her in a 6-woman tag.
Yeah, so there you go. That's pre-show worthy, I will say. Then we had Renee with Charlotte, who states that she has known Sasha and Becky before they were Sasha and Becky, and says that she was the one holding Sasha's hair back from vomiting before she started in NXT, and was a scared girl, and that's how she'll always view her. And Charlotte, then Rick actually steps in and brings up Charlotte calling Rick 2 weeks after she entered NXT, stating that there are 2 girls here that are going to be great, and therefore I need to be better. And Charlotte has requested time to speak with Becky and Sasha on SmackDown this week and is going to show them that they cannot run from their history. So maybe she's going to unleash an attack ad on them. Something from their past.
Ooh.
They've tried to sweep under the carpet. Charlotte's going to try and blackmail them out of the match at WrestleMania, perhaps.
I think they kind of need something. Okay? I don't know about an attack ad, but they certainly need something to spark more interest. Right now, they're just kind of...
They announced the match, and that's where we're at. And it's just, well, it's the women from NXT. They're having a 3-way match, has largely been the build for this one. The Usos were back, taking on Bo Dallas and Adam Rose. And the Dudleys are on commentary. The Social Outcasts are jogging around the ring. Bubba refers to Rikishi as the Usos' fat-ass father. And then Bubba gets up to distract one of the Usos. I have just hit a max on the distractions. There's just too many of them on the show.
Too many.
Too much of a crutch. And it leads to super kicks being delivered to all 4 members of the Social Outcasts. And then Jimmy hits another one to Bo, splash from the top, and the Usos win clean in 1:54 while the Dudleys are going up the ramp yelling that they are not the Dudleys in reference to the Social Outcasts.
I'm trying to think what teams could do outside of a distraction to infuriate the people that they have a match with at the pay-per-view. Well, what could they possibly do? Maybe just like
at least if you came up on the Titantron and you're going through the guys like bags and stuff and you've got stuff that you don't want touched.
That would be a distraction, though.
I would be caught off guard. My focus would be diverted. But
that would be
you walking out 200 feet away from me, I would be more worried about the person who is less than 2 feet away from me and is trying to inflict harm on me.
That is true. Or at the very least, like coming out with like a pot and a pan and just like clanking the pot and pan together for a distraction finish, I think would be nice.
Naked Midian had a point.
Yes.
Behind that character. Then Dean Ambrose is in the locker room and all of a sudden Mick Foley appears. And he calls it a bad idea, what Dean is planning to do with Brock Lesnar, and asks him why. So Ambrose brings up where they are, in Pittsburgh, the site of the Hell in a Cell. And Foley admits that when he was on top of that cell, he was terrified. And Ambrose said, then why did you keep going? And he said, I kept going because that's what I did. And Ambrose responds, well, I'm Dean Ambrose, and this is what I do, holding his crowbar. And then Foley backs him up, saying, I want you to go to a dark place when you face Lesnar. And he takes the crowbar from Ambrose, and he tosses it away and gives him a present, calls it a passing of the torch. He opens up the gift, and what a birthday present this would have been, Way.
Janice.
Yeah, no nails coming out of this. It was, this was Linda.
Is that what the name is?
The barbed wire baseball bat.
Linda.
I really like this because this is a weapon that Ambrose, when he pulls this out at WrestleMania, is going to get a great reaction.
Definitely.
And it's a link to Mick Foley, as if this is like Kurt Angle giving Davey Richards the ankle lock.
Oh,
It's got a meaning now for Ambrose to have this weapon, as opposed to, well, here's a crowbar that's just come out of nowhere and is my thing now.
And I think it especially works because Dean Ambrose, I think, is somebody who people don't necessarily think of Mick Foley when they look at Dean Ambrose, but I think they're 2 characters that have a lot in common in terms of, you know, how crazy they are, I suppose. So it really fits. It's not like Ric Flair giving The Miz the figure 4 leg lock, okay? And
this is a better gift.
He just got booed every single time. This will actually work, I think.
Every Thursday, catch Jason Agnew and Braden Harrington on What's Next, recapping every week's episode of NXT here at liveaudiowrestling.com. Triple H and Dolph Ziggler kicked off the third hour non-title match. Started off with a series of headlock takeovers, hip tosses. Ziggler then got ran into the barricade and started selling his left shoulder throughout the match. Hunter was working it over. Ziggler ran at Hunter, got tossed to the floor and then into the steps. Ziggler finally gets his boot up. Hunter goes down in the ring, and Ziggler counters a pedigree with a jackknife cover, then with a famouser, jumping DDT for a series of near falls. Hunter then drops him with a spine buster, and the announcers are telling the story that Ziggler is fighting back, and this is much more of a fight than Hunter anticipated it. He gets up and then eats a super kick from Ziggler. There's also a lot of super kicks on this show, by the way. And then he hits him with the sweet Zig music, and Ziggler then gets shoved off the apron to the barricade, grabbing his shoulder, and just beats the count. And Hunter goes for the pedigree, the same finish of the Dean Ambrose match from Roadblock, which was a nice tie-in. Mm-hmm. And Ziggler blocks the pedigree with a back body drop. Hunter then holds on to the top rope as Ziggler goes for the zigzag, and this time Hunter hits the pedigree and gets the win. I thought this was a really good match. I enjoyed this a lot, and this was two really great Hunter matches in the span of 3 nights.
Which match did you think was better?
Ambrose.
Yeah.
But I like this match. This was a good television match, and I thought Ziggler got a lot in this match.
Yep.
And Ziggler is not a guy that this hurt in any way to me.
No, I mean, I think this is a case where just even having a bit of exposure is probably better for Dolph Ziggler than not having any at all. I think it's another testament to Hunter to see how great he actually is as a performer. It's nice to see him on TV doing matches regularly at this time.
So then Roman Reigns' music hits, and the man with the shattered nose has returned. And he comes out the entranceway as Hunter is looking into the crowd. Reigns is no longer a man among the people. Should we read into that?
No.
No? He's just coming out normally? He's not coming. Yeah. He's not coming out through the crowd anymore. Doesn't want to be with the people.
Because he's expected to be. He wanted to make a surprise entrance.
He wanted to make the surprise entrance through the normal entrance. Yeah. He comes out with this death stare, and he charges at the ring, attacking Hunter. I won't say tons, but noticeable boos for Roman.
Yeah, there are a lot of boos, man. It was noticeable.
Not deafening, though, I would say. He's had worse.
Depends on how close you are to your speaker, I think.
Stephanie races to the back to get away from here. Hunter is sent into the barricade. Then he gets run face first into the announce desk, playing off of Roman's injury. And then Hunter takes the announce chair and throws it at Reigns. Reigns then shoves Charles Robinson, who didn't have a great night when it came to physical altercations with performers. He chases the refs away. Hunter attacks, and for the first time in wrestling history, hit him with an exploding Diet Coke.
No, that's not true. I think Alicia Fox.
That's right.
Did the soda gimmick.
That's right. There was an exploding pop can there as well. So there you go. This certainly worked. This was a diet, too.
Ooh,
so
aspartame.
This was less heavy.
Aspartame, yeah.
Then they fight by the fans. There is a video we put on our Facebook of this woman losing her mind just at the sight of Roman Reigns being so close that she could touch him.
This was like the bowl cut kid if she was a hot woman.
Well, this woman was losing it. And they continue fighting backstage. Reigns is attacking him with this light. The Usos, Swagger, and Henry have to calm him down. And Roman was just running wild here.
I thought Roman came across a little bit better than he did at the start of the show, but I'll definitely say his absence didn't necessarily make the fans miss him any more than when he was around. I think he's still going to get booed, but to me, I thought the best reaction he got tonight was when he attacked Charles Robinson. And so maybe it tells me that, maybe he's a bit too clean cut and that he needs to do kind of more heelish things to really get the audience to cheer for him.
They announced Jacqueline for the Hall of Fame. Then Goldust found R-Truth dressed up as a penguin, and this led to R-Truth stating that when penguins find their mate, they stay with them forever. He asks Goldust to be his penguin, and Goldust says no. Chris Jericho comes out, cuts a promo about Styles not being as good as everyone thinks. He's a hack, and he is his daddy. He's Papa Styles. Chris Jericho and Neville, and this is a match that was likely cut significantly short. Jericho went to the floor early and kicked the steps away out of frustration, and Neville hit a Hurricane Rana, and then as he was rolling through, grabs his ankle, which rolled at a very bad-looking
He
angle.
was almost like kind of doing a baseball slide through Jericho's legs and at the same time rolled his ankle. And it was very noticeable from that point on that something was wrong.
Yeah, you could hear him ask if he was hurt. And Robinson, he rolls him up, first of all, and you could tell based on Neville kicking out, this guy's either the best seller in the business. He could barely kick out of this.
I don't even know if he kicked out.
He was like, he adjusted himself, and I think Jericho like compensated and moved off of him. And Robinson got in front of Jericho saying he was hurt, and Jericho just shoved Robinson.
No, Jericho was saying he was hurt.
Well, Robinson then said it as well.
Okay, I don't know. This was why this whole thing was so interesting and very confusing to me, because it almost looked like, my interpretation of it was that Jericho was calling the audible to do the roll up for the actual finish, and for whatever reason, maybe Robinson didn't count it, or I don't know. And then it almost looked like Jericho was getting upset that Robinson wasn't ending a match, or under the direction of whoever wasn't ending the match.
See, I heard Jericho say it at first, and I thought when they stood up that it was Robinson saying that. But you could be right.
But
so he just shoved him, and the DQ was called. So this ended very awkwardly.
It was very awkward, and I'd like to know who was supposed to actually win here, whether it was supposed to be Neville or Jericho. But nonetheless, I'm sure we'll find out the true story, in a matter of hours. But it was very interesting to see.
Or maybe AJ was supposed to come out and distract.
Yeah, maybe with pots and pans.
So Jericho just says this is what happens when you treat him like a piece of trash, and it led to Styles coming out, hitting the springboard forearm, which is now the phenomenal forearm.
What a shitty name. Come on. Like, he had a whole thing on Twitter asking fans to name his new finisher. And this is the best they could come up with?
Final segment. Vince McMahon comes out. He demands a second intro to get a better reaction. Describes the fantasy of Shane winning at WrestleMania, because it's not going to happen, and says he can get rid of Shane without even laying a hand on him as he brings out his instrument of destruction, The Undertaker. Vince tells Undertaker to never lay a hand on him, and then he cowers in fear as Taker teases getting physical here. He calls this an unholy alliance, but that it is also best for business. Shane McMahon dances out to the ring.
Do you want to know what shoes he wore?
Which were they this time? This was
Shane has
shoes number 3.
Yeah, Shane has been displaying his Air Jordan collection every time he's been on TV. And tonight he wore the shattered backboard Air Jordan 1s.
Ooh. Maybe we'll get those Shaqnosis ones, some throwbacks for WrestleMania.
What?
Remember the black and white ones from the mid-'90s?
No.
Those were Reebok.
No, we're getting the cue from Sarge. We should stop talking about shoes.
All right. Well, we can cut all this out. So Shane dances his way out to the ring. Shane then tells The Undertaker that he has been watching his footage and says, I'm going to use my mind. You're going to hit me, and I'm going to miss. And the crowd just immediately laughed as Shane botched his line. I know a lot of people think I'm just going to pounce on this.
You're going to hit me, but I'm going to miss?
He said, you're going to hit me, and I'm going to miss. And then he corrected his line.
What was he supposed to say? I thought
he
that
said,
was his point.
I think he was supposed to say, you're going to try to hit me, and you're
okay.
going to miss. I think he was trying to say, I'm going to be faster.
I see.
To Shane's credit, this crowd totally caught this and laughed at him, and he did not lose his focus and kept going with his promo. So I'll give him that. He says he's going to force Taker to burn his oxygen and blow him up. And Shane said, I'm going to turn my body into a weapon. And finally, I have my heart, because I'm going to fight for my children, the future, and the legacy of the WWE. I'm sorry.
It was corny. Yeah,
there's a believability factor that is just so far out the window here of this human weapon, Shane McMahon.
If you had any ounce of believability left, I think they left him with his hands. It started as soon as he started throwing punches in this.
Are you with me now on the punches?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
These are really bad.
Really bad.
He goes to light up Undertaker with his human hands.
I'll tell you what was the worst, though. He started doing that, okay? He's punching the Undertaker. Then he backs off and does
the waltz. The Shane O'Mac shuffle, as Cole yelled at the top of his lungs.
This is a man fighting the Undertaker, who is supposed to be... You're fighting God, basically, okay? You don't back away as you're getting the upper hand on God to dance.
I'm telling you, if he had just stepped back doing this shuffle and Taker cold cocked him, it would have been the biggest reaction of the night. It would have turned them so big to watch Shane just get decked here. Shane also called Taker Vince's bitch here because he's just carrying out Vince's wishes with this match. It ended with Vince shoving Shane into Taker for a choke slam to end the show.
I know that they had to show that Shane has somewhat of a physical chance against The Undertaker, but this is just too hard to buy. I think
Taker selling, I'm sorry, it's just cringeworthy.
Shane is a civilian, okay? And if The Undertaker...
He's a weapon.
If The Undertaker has trouble punching this civilian, I think it only hurts The Undertaker and doesn't necessarily make Shane look better. I mean, I feel like they should have been pushing this like Ambrose and Brock, have Taker just completely destroy Shane and Shane barely get up every single time. That's just a far more believable thing than to have Taker go 50-50 until Vince interrupts, basically.
That was Raw. I won't say that this closing segment, I thought this was one of the lower points of Raw, especially considering this is the de facto main event of WrestleMania. This is the main event angle. I did not like this final segment, but the majority of Raw, I really liked the Hunter stuff throughout, and I really liked the use of Mick Foley with Dean Ambrose. I thought Dean got a lot out of that. This was a good show, but I wasn't over the moon about it.
I agree.
That wraps up Raw and Wei Ting's birthday. He is now officially a star.
Yes.
That is the wrestling equivalent of 32.
Yes.
So Wei is going to go celebrate the next 364 days of 32, and then we'll do this again next year. We're back with a new Review of Wei on Wednesday morning at liveaudiowrestling.com, and you can always catch Review of Raw Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern here on Fight Network.